Hello and welcome back to our seminar about Kavaca, Marma and immunity. As you can see, I retaped it to have a better quality and will be available, as I announced, on YouTube. It's quite okay because yesterday there was an international Ayurveda Congress which happened online, of course, and maybe one or two news I can also put in this video for you. Now, this video will be divided in three parts. The first part is general recommendations for immunity and prevention, especially for this COVID-19 pandemic. But everything that is said here is also true for all kinds of infectious diseases, just for improvement of immunity, better health, and also, of course, for prevention of such infectious diseases. Second part will be a new procedure, a new technique, quite simple and easy. You can apply on yourself for protection, for grounding, for peace in the heart and in the mind, and also strengthening the immunity. And the third part will be Marmas for immunity. So let's get started. Here you have an overview of about 15 points, advices for self-protection and immunity. We will not go into all the points so much in detail, but the one or the other it might be quite interesting for you. So let's start with lemon honey water. You know, lemon honey water is quite simple, but it's a really effective measure to improve immunity. It is a detox, it is vitalizing, and it is the perfect refresher in the morning. I recommend this since many years to my patients, and almost every one of them is quite happy to have this very simple drink in the morning. And what they report is they feel fresh immediately after they have it, and they feel, or they have the experience, they are not so much infected or get infected as it was previously or in the past. And also and this was also interesting for me, some people say, especially those who are really severe coffee drinkers, they don't like the coffee so much in the morning. It has stopped this craving for coffee. It is when they have been drinking the lemon honey water, they feel immediately fresh and they don't have the desire for the coffee. Now, how to prepare it? You need a cup of lukewarm water. You need a half of lemon and some honey. And you squeeze the lemon into the lukewarm water and you dissolve the honey there in the water. The water has to be lukewarm, otherwise it will be very difficult to dilute it or to dissolve it. So very recommendable. And when to take it? Immediately after you stand up, you rise from the bed, even before you take shower, quite early in the morning, and then you go to the bathroom and to the rest. Now, Abhyanga is something which is generally recommended in Ayurveda, as you know. I had a story which I had together with Dr. Raju. I met him some years ago, and we were talking about Marma and consciousness and the other aspects in connection with Marma. And he told me an interesting story. He said, consciousness is the most important point for the protection with Marma. Diseases are traveling in the consciousness to the body and create and manifest the disease in the body. So, and the skin plays a major role also for protection. He explained me that the warriors in the ancient Vedic times, they were taking really care of the skin. They did some massage every day, especially on the neck, and the shoulder and the back. And he explained me one symbolic myth from the Mahabharata. There was a hero called, here it is, Karna. Karna was a prominent person in the story, and Karna was the son of god Surya, and that he was divine, he was immortal, so he was invulnerable. He could not be wounded. He had a double layer of skin. He could not be burnt. Not even an arrow could penetrate him. He was immortal. But he had one weak point in his character, which sounds a little strange because it doesn't sound weak. The weak point was he wanted to fulfill the wish of everyone. That means whatever question was put to him, he would like to give an answer. Whatever wish was brought in front of him, he would like to fulfill it. And this was a weak point, and about this weak point, only 4 persons knew. This was the mother, that was he himself, this was Surya, and this was Indra. And Indra approached in front of him, but not showing that he was Indra. So Karna didn't recognize him as such. And Indra asked, can you fulfill me a wish or a desire? Yes, Karna said yes, of course. And Indra said to him, can I have a piece of your skin, please? And Karna said, yes, I give you. And he gave him a piece of skin of him. And from that moment on, he became mortal. He became vulnerable. He could be wounded. And as you can see on the picture on the side, it played a major role later in the Bhagavad Gita, in that famous, on the famous battlefield of Kurukshetra, because Karna lost his life by the arrow of Arjuna because he has become mortal and vulnerable. So the story about the skin is here excellently explained in a symbolic way. That means we have to take really care of the skin. This is also very important for the understanding of Marmas, because the Marmas are on the surface and they are protecting by their receptors, being receptors, understanding the environment, feeling the environment. So they are receptors, and the skin has to be perfect, it has to be healthy. So the skin is a kavac. A kavac means it's a shield, a protective shield. Kavac, Sanskrit, means shield or armor. But a kavacha or a kavacham is a protective shield that is also used for purification. So it can be a mantra, it can be a yantra, it can be a symbol which is carried, it can be a ring. And of course, a kavach is also the oil massage. It is consciousness and it is marmas. And very nice, you see here in this picture, is a kind of mandala or yantra. You see this person sitting there in a lotus position and holding the hand in front of the face, closing the ears, closing the senses, protecting himself, symbolically showing that this yantra is a shield, it's a protective shield. And it's what we call a kavacha. So this is the story about kavacha, and then this shows the importance of taking care of the skin. Now on the skin, on the surface is ochas, a subtle protective shield on the surface, and it's on a perfectly healthy skin has ochas, has perfect ochas, protecting from bacteria, from viruses, from damages, putting a layer there of protection and of health and also youthfulness on the skin. So on this overview, you see next points. Nasya oil, you put a drop of sesame oil into the nostril and sniff them up left and right. You can have this oil pulling with sesame oil after brushing the teeth for 1 or 2 minutes. It's useful for the gums. It's taking care of the armor, the toxins in the mouth, in the tonsils there, purifying the tonsils, strengthening the immunity in the mouth area and in the throat area. And the Nasya oil is especially recommended now also from Indian government and all the Vaidyas, because when you put the oil into the nose, it puts a layer of protective oil so that viruses cannot so easily penetrate into the mucous membrane of the nasal passages. So it is meant in Ayurveda to be protective. And of course it's also purifying, and it releases some mucus sometimes also coming from the paranasal sinuses. We had the oil massage, drinking hot water, very useful, very helpful. Every one of you knows this, of course. You boil it 10 minutes and drink it sip-wise, half a liter during the day. Point number 5, ginger. I heard from a Russian doctor. He seems to be a very spiritual person, and he has some ability, at least he says it, to see if people are infected or not. And he strongly recommended to have 1 slice of ginger root, thrice daily, or you drink ginger tea. And he says it's really powerful measure for prevention of infectious diseases. Number 6, and now we come to a very interesting point. You see here, licorice. Licorice turned out to be a really, really effective medicine, not only against bacteria and viruses in general, but also here, especially on coronavirus. In 2003, research was published in Lancet, and Lancet is the medical journal for medical doctors. And the University of Frankfurt has done research on glycyrrhizin, which is one of the active ingredients of licorice. And they found that glycyrrhizin was the most active substance inhibiting the replication of the SARS coronavirus at that time. You may remember there was also a pandemia with a very similar coronavirus, SARS. And the authors suggested that glycyrrhizin should be assessed for treatment of SARS. Nowadays, new research has come. One was done in the medical school of Hong Kong together with the Stanford University, and they found out that the glycyrrhizin has the ability to block receptors in the lung tissue, in the alveoli, so that the virus, the coronavirus, cannot penetrate through this receptor into the lung tissue. So the receptor is called ACE2, and it is like the entrance, the door for the virus. The receptor is needed so that the virus can penetrate into the lung tissue. And this receptor is completely blocked by glycyrrhizin so that the virus cannot penetrate. It's a wonderful combination to what we said before, that it is also blocking the replication. And now Chinese scientists found also that another active ingredient in glycyrrhizin, in licorice, is liquid tin. And this liquid tin has likewise a similar effect as the glycyrrhizin. It can block the replication power of this coronavirus. So this is interesting for us, and I will show you that the Indian government has started a clinical trial on 4 Ayurvedic medicines. They give to 100,000 of people. They have handed out already. And they want to find out in a scientific way how preventive these Ayurvedic medicines can be, and if they are really useful in prevention and even cure or supporting the cure in corona patients. So as you can see, there are 4 different substances below in the last but 2 lines of this publication, India Today. Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is Vitania somnifera, and ashwagandha has also the effect to block an enzyme, MOPRO, and this enzyme of the coronavirus is used to destruct proteins which causes the harmful effects to the patients. And ashwagandha is one of the substances to block this enzyme so that it can't do harm in that way. So these 4 substances are given. Now I tell you, since years I use one medicine which contains the first 2. MA687, and I heard this name is very similar, or is the same name also in UK. In Italy, it's called Azumab. It's tablets, and it contains the two substances, Vitania somnifera and Glycyrrhiza glabra, which is licorice. So here we have the perfect combination of ashwagandha and licorice, and I give it since years in all kind of infectious diseases, especially in virus infections. So now, when the corona pandemic started also in Germany, I informed 1,500 people, from which I had the email addresses from my practice, and recommended to take this preparation, 1 tablet 3 times a day, as a preventive measure. And if there is any kind of infection, they should take 3 tablets 3 times a day. And as far as I could overview and observe, no one was infected, everyone seemed to be protected. And finally, to tell you, I had one elderly lady, her age is 75 years, and her family was definitely infected by coronavirus, and she was in the family and had intensive contact. The family had to stay in quarantine, and she also had to stay in quarantine, and she developed also some cough, some weakness, some symptoms of an infection. So via telephone, I recommended again also to take the 687 tablets, 3 tablets 3 times daily, together with another medicine, which is quite famous all over the world. It's called Septilin. It should be available also in UK and in Italy and everywhere in Europe. So Septilin is mainly for all kind of infectious diseases in the upper respiratory tract and in the tonsils, sinusitis, tonsillitis, bronchitis. It's an immune booster, and it's taking out the mucus, liquefying the mucus coming from the paranasal sinuses or from the nose and even from the bronchial system. So it's quite a good medicine for all these kind of diseases. And usually the dosage I give is 2 tablets 3 times daily. So I gave this also to this lady, and she stayed with minor symptoms, and after 1 or 2 weeks she got healthy and she did not have to go to the emergency unit. And you know, the risk factor for such patient is the age. She had really a risk factor with 75 years, and she had a history of breast cancer, which might be also a risk factor. So it's not a proof if this was the main reason, but it's a good sign that something good is happening with this medicine. So, and yesterday with the Ayurveda International Congress, there was also another interesting story. One lady, the professor of an institute, she was reporting what they are doing and this and that, and she said it's not only about how to prevent and to treat, it is also how to live with coronavirus in these days. In this institute, I think, if I remember well, there were 50 people working, and they did not stay at home, in the home office. Everyone came into the institute, having the mask, of course, and taking care of hygiene and so, and they got a decoction, an Ayurvedic decoction for immunity and prevention, and they did some fumigation, I think is the word, evaporation of resins, essential oils, or whatever they did. She didn't go too much in specific. And as so far, no one was infected, no one got the corona, and everyone could work in these facilities. So I don't know if this is recommendable in our Western world, but she was reporting that it worked, at least in her facility. So something else quite interesting. You know, humming, Pramari is the honeybee, and there's a Vedic or yogic procedure, kind of pranayama. Humming means that sound. You know, of course. And primary humming is you close all the senses and do the humming. But In this research that had been done, it was normal humming, and they found that the nitric oxide in the nasal area, in the paranasal sinuses, increased 15 times to normal. And the nitric oxide is a very, very important substance, a free radical for fighting bacteria, viruses, infections there in the first entrance of the upper respiratory tract. So humming is highly recommendable every day, not only because of the infectious prevention of infections, also for well-being, clarifying the senses, and getting more strength and vitality in the whole physiology. So I recommend that we do it now together. I think I show you this larger or bigger picture, and thanks to yogainternational.com, the picture I have from their website. I hope this is okay for them. So let's do it together. With the thumbs, you close your ears. With index finger, the eyes. With the middle finger, upper part of the nostril. With the ring finger, lower part, close the lips with the pinky. Now, we do it together. So I hope you could feel the wonderful effect of Brahmari. It's refreshing whole face, it's refreshing the senses, clarifies the senses. Some people say they feel even this sound or this vibration in the whole system. So it creates a resonance on on the level of the cells and the tissues. And it's quite useful. It is something, this is since ancient times recommended to practice. It's easy to be done. It lasts only 1 to 3 minutes. As long as you want to do it, you can do it 2 times or 3 times a day, whatever you like. It's also good for singers to practice this technique. So next will be meditation, of course. Meditation, as we know, especially transcendental meditation, is highly recommendable now in this, for many countries, difficult time with the lockdown and whatever conflicts and problems we have here. And transcendental meditation is strengthening the immune system, which is scientifically proved. Also, yoga is recommendable, pranayamas are recommendable. And this was also a discussion on the International Ayurveda Congress. Many times the responsible, respective people recommended, also those from the government, to practice yoga and meditation and pranayamas, because mental strength is so important for immunity. It's not only that we have to protect ourselves from the environment coming a virus, it's also we have to strengthen our physiology, especially immunity. And the basis of immunity, the last basis of immunity, is the strength and the power of consciousness. This is the strongest Kavaca, power of consciousness. Because if you have a strong, optimistic consciousness, a strong mind, this is almost invincible from many, many things. You can run on fire and you will not be burned, only because of the power of your consciousness. So this is really something that has to be emphasized in these days or weeks and months of this crisis of an infection. So let's see if I've got something. Yes, there are some other recommendations. Daily routine, early to bed and early to rise, makes a man healthy and wealthy and wise. Wonderful sentence, which is really true, and those who live with it, they know how precious it is. Dr. Bauhofer, one of our doctors here in Germany, who also was speaking on that conference, he made one point interesting. In the night when we sleep, I think he said 7 grams of of lymph substance is produced in the brain that has to be taken away, has to be brought away during the sleep. And this lymph substance, as an expression of recover, of digestion, of agony, of recovering in the night, it's extremely important to be taken away. And if we don't have enough sleep, it costs us years of healthy living and even years of longevity. So this is really, really something we should follow with. I know many of us, including me, not always follow this advice, but maybe this is a sign with the coronavirus epidemic that we should follow these recommendations which are coming from nature itself and which are natural, and we should follow natural law. Fresh air, sunlight, morning walk, so important. Vitamin D, vitamin C. And of course, essential oils. Many essential oils have antibacterial, some of them antiviral effects, and we can use Ravintsara, thyme, eucalyptus, or the Spanish cypress oil, or Boswellia serrata resin, or also as an evaporate in the room, or we can use an incense, have some fumigation, as this lady, as the professor told us from the Indian Institute. Now, Vishnu Sahasranama, you may be not so familiar with this recitation. Vishnu Sahasranama from Vedic tradition is used for protection. A recitation, you can get it of best quality in Google Play Store with the name Maharishi Veda app. This app can be downloaded. It is free for 4 weeks, and there you find quite a number of different recitations of high quality, and one of them is Vishnu Sahasranama. So at least even 5 minutes will have a good effect, and you will feel it. Okay, so we had the Pramari, the humming, and I think we covered all the points now so far. To end up now the first part of this presentation, and we come now to the second part, and the second part will be this procedure of self-protection, of grounding, and getting peace in the heart and strengthening the immunity, which I show as a video, and you can follow this video and experience how the effects are in you. when can you do it? Or how you can do it? You can do it standing up, you can do it sitting, or you can do it lying down, for example, before you want to sleep, when the mind is excited, or just to get the peace, the experience of peace and grounding and coming back to yourself. Now, there are a few important things that have to be mentioned. The one thing is that hand on here in this area. I will show you what happens here. This is the sternum, and you see on the sternum you have, where is my pencil? Not here, okay. The sternum, you have here the manubrium sterni. This is called manubrium sterni. Then you have this, the main part of the sternum, and you have something which is called the xiphoid or xiphoid, the processor, xiphoid processus. So here we have the manubrium sternum. Behind the manubrium is the thymus or thymus, don't know how you say it in English. This central and most important immune organ. And then there is in the center of it is a marma. It's called chatru marma. So chatru marma controls the immunity, controls the strength, controls the vitality which is located, but also some quality of peace and storage of orchas which may be located in this area. Then you have, and the hands have to stay here. The palms should be on the chatru marma or the manubrium sterni. This is the clavicle, left and right. So when you put it, applied like this, you will see the fingers, the index fingers are coming above the clavicle naturally. And also there are a lot of small marmas. And here is also one other marma. Here is Kanta marma, you remember, Kanta marma, which is located here. So we cover 3 points. This will come later, this marma. I'll show you afterwards. So what are the effects? Usually those who practice this procedure already say they feel immediately peace. They feel calmful. It's absolutely relaxing. It's quite powerful. And they feel that grounding in the whole physiology. And they feel to come home because everything is with closing. And it is a technique for Kavaca. Kavaca, protection. Protection. Kavaca means protect yourself. Close your eyes. You remember this picture at the beginning with this yantra, when the yoga person was sitting, closing the eyes, like in humming, closing the eyes, closing the ears, closing the eyes, and so forth. So, now this ends part 2, showing you this new procedure. You can also show it to your friends, you can show it to everyone, but please first practice on yourself and look at the video how it is to be practiced correctly. The finger should be closed, not open when you go there somewhere, it should be closed. And get experience. Experience is always the most important thing when you want to tell someone how to do it, because with your own experience you can explain how it should be done. Now we come to the third part, and the third part will be about marmas and immunity. So, marmas and immunity. Marmas for strengthening the immune system. Before we go to the details of marma, we should be aware that there are common reasons, different reasons for weakening of the immune system. And that means we have to find the correct key marmers in such cases to be effectively and to be successful. To be effective and be successful. So, common reasons are stress, exhaustion, sleeping disorders, environmental influences, that common situations we have in everyday life. Then psychological, mental conflicts, sorrow, grief, depression, fear or anxiety. These influences on the whole body weaken the immune system sometimes so severely that immediately an infection may come when such things like sorrow, grief, or depression are there. Then, of course, weak digestive fire, when the Agni digestive fires become weak, then it comes to an accumulation of ama, also because of wrong diets, eating habits, and so. And this leads to a disruption of orchard formation, and you know, orchards is so important for immunity. Then, of course, medicines which may suppress immunity, like anti-cancer preparations, medicines, or autoimmune preparations that have to be given to stop immunity even, and so on. Then lack of vitamins, quite common in our days and in our countries, is vitamin D. Even in India, vitamin D, a lack of vitamin D is quite common, because the people, although they have a lot of sun, don't want to go into the sun because they want to keep more or less a lighter skin color, don't want to become so dark. Also, vitamin C is an important substance for immunity, or trace elements. And then, of course, also genetic factors. So here are the marmers for immunity. The highest and the first and one of the importance is Adipati, because Adipati is the controller of the brain, of thinking. It is the Brahmastan in the brain. It holds the control about everything. It's like the king, and if the king is sick and weak and is not strong enough, then the whole state, dependent of the king and the ministry, becomes more or less sick. The next one is Stapani. Stapani, the marma of the third eye. Stapani is the living room of the mind. Stapani is the living room of the mind. That means thinking processes taking place there. And if the mind is strong, if the mind is clear, strong willpower, immunity is also strong. Then we have Phanas, of course they're important for respiratory diseases, Shringataka, likewise, and also for protecting all the senses. You know, you have heard that in some cases the coronavirus has a negative influence, a pathological influence also on the nervous system, especially in the ability of smelling and taste. These nerves get somehow damaged, but also it can cause a damage in the central nervous system. So these marmers are quite important, being located here on the head. Then we have, of course, Apastamba, the controller of the lung function and the bronchial tubes. Then Hridaya, the heart, strong emotion, but also the seat of orchas, that means again immunity. And then we have Agrapatra, the xiphoid process, Marma, Agrapatra. In the next slides I will show it, the effects, and show it more in detail. And then we have Surya Marma, between the navel and the Agrapatra. And Surya Marma is the controller of the digestive processes, is controller of Agni via the brain in the gut. That means the nervous system which is located in the gut and is controlling the functions of the internal organs for perfect digestion. And then finally we have, of course, the Kshipras, because they are the controller of everything which has to do with the upper part of the body, especially the throat, the neck area, the sinuses, the lung part, and so forth. The sequence is starting from Kshipras down to up, and then up from Adipati down to the last one, Surya. So here you see Agrapatra more in detail. You see the sternum and the manubrium sterni. This is pointing on number 2. And this the main part of the sternum, number 3. And number 1 in this illustration is the xiphoid or xiphoid processus. And here's the Marma. You can feel when you palpate there with 3 fingers, sometimes you feel this quality of fear or anxiety, but it's also a controller of gastric disorders or heart complaints and many, many other things. So here it's another picture showing more the situation when you have it on the skin, so that it's more easy to locate it on a patient. So what are the actions, the effects when you give a treatment to Agrapatra Marma? It relaxes the diaphragm. It's very, very important, for example, for singers. It regulates the lung and the bronchial functions. It releases suppressed emotions. It has a warming and balancing effect on the stomach and duodenum, and it harmonizes and strengthens the heart functions. So the indications when we can apply Marma on this point is, for example, heart dysfunctions. Dysfunction means you have some strange feeling in the heart, some palpitations. Maybe there's no organic background. Everything seems to be healthy when you go to the cardiologist. But you feel something is wrong there. It might be some emotion which is there in the heart. Sometimes it's just an overstrain or so. So this is an indication. Or bronchopulmonal disorders, gastrointestinal disorders, or emotional problems. Now the treatment, the self-treatment, you put the 3 fingers of your right hand on the xiphoid, the middle finger on the point, that means on the Marma point in the center, the 2 others above and below. Now touch gently without moving and then feel the effects. Oils can be used typically Hridaya, because it belongs to the main Mahamarma, Hridaya. You can choose Ananda to make more positive emotion. You can give emotional relief, the Sadaka oil, if it's more a deep-rooted problem. And you can give a calming Marma oil like Shanti Om if there is some nervousness there. So here we come to the point, oils on Marma for immunity. I was asked which Marmas are best for immunity and how to decide. Well, if we go only by this general symptomatic respiratory infection, the most common we use generally is Adiprana. Adiprana has a composition which is basically useful for the respiratory tract. It's opening, it's causing clarity, it's purifying in this area. Then there is the oil MA634. 634 is an essential oils produced by Maharishi Ayurveda products, and this it's more for inhalation, for smelling, or to put on the skin when there is an insect bite, or on the temples when you have headache and such things, like similar to the Chinese mint oil. But you can use it when you dilute it in some almond oil or in Maha Orchard's oil. You put maybe 3-4 drops of this MA634 on a similar amount of Maha Orchard's, and then you have a good mixture for the application on Marmas. Or you mix Maha Orchard's, or you mix different specific essential oils like Immortella, cedar leaf oil, Boswellia serrata, eucalyptus or thymian oil with Maha Orchard's. Then it's more specific in the way you think with your experience it's useful. Now, if we have emotional reasons, of course, the emphasis is more on this area, this level. So Sadaka then is one of the major oils which is recommendable, or Ananda, so creating more optimistic, positive thinking, and Shanti Om with the calming effect. Now these oils are most useful when applied especially on Stapani, Hridaya and Agrapatra. Now what is the difference between all these oils for mental reasons? This was also an important question. So Sadaka, Marma oil, the indications, the applications are more in sorrow, grief, lack of courage, functional heart complaints, whilst Ananda, because of its orange essential oil, it has that positive mood creating effect. It's refreshing, it creates optimism, it creates happiness. This is more for not so deep-rooted mental problems. It's more when you wake up in the morning, you're not in so good mood, you're a little depressed, and you feel not fresh enough and so on. It's nothing what is so deep-rooted like a deep depression. Then it should be probably not the right oil for that disease. Then we have Shanti Om. Shanti Om is Shanti, brings peace, calming down, has a balancing effect on the vata reducing, especially on overactive prana vata. Prana vata is the wind of thinking. Too much wind in the brain, too much thinking, too much thoughts, always thinking. It's a very common thing nowadays, so Shanti Om is very good for this. Mental stress, fear, anxiety, sleeping disorders from too much thinking. So this is the oil of first choice for these problems. Then we consider Hridaya. Hridaya is one of the Mahamarma oils, and it's mainly used directly on the Mahamarma, means on the Hridaya Marma. In that way, it has an holistic effect on all aspects of the heart. Organic, emotional, intelligence, or just immunity. What does mean intelligence? Intelligence also means forgettiveness, when we always forget things, when the mind is tired, concentration is no longer so good. So then this oil is also useful, especially then when all these mental problems are coming with some deep-rooted emotional, what we call sadhaka-rooted problems. But compared to sadhaka, the Hridaya is more overall, it is more complex effect. It has the whole heart area, also the organic problems which might be there, not only the emotional problems. And then Udana. Udana is the upward movement of vata, and often it is the problem then becomes located in the neck area. So that saying, I have a lump in the throat, very typical Udana symptom, or we feel a tension in the back of the neck because of stress or fear. And of course, Udana is useful in all respiratory disorders due to strain and stress. Now, when to use what? Nilamanya is also located and mainly located in the throat, in the neck area, the throat area. But as a Mahamarma oil, it is mainly meant to be applied here. It opens and clears the throat, it strengthens the power of speech, it balances the neck marmas. It's good for thyroid problems also. But Udana is more overexertion in stress in general. It also helps with voice problems and also in lymph nodes and relaxes the neck tensions. But the application is more on the kshipras. It's more on the peripheral part, in the peripheral marmas. So this is the difference of these two. So this ends now the last part, the third part. I have been showing you the Nava Marma Mudra, this 9-hand mudra, you can also say, or 9-hand procedure for grounding, protection, immunity and peace. I have shown you the different marmas for immunity, and I gave you in the beginning an introduction, a list of some recommendations for strengthening immunity and protection as a kind of Kavaca in the understanding I tried to give to you. So I will try to make this list at the beginning available for you. I mean this list, maybe either for download or it could be sent to you, might be quite useful. So, ending here, I thank you very much for joining me, and I wish you good health, take care, be happy, and you will see it will have a positive outcome. And last picture is this one, flowers blossoming in my neighbor's garden, as an expression of this wonderful, beautiful springtime we had in Germany with a beautiful blue sky, no airplanes in the sky. The stars were beautifully to be seen, very clear. In the night, the pollution had gone down, and there was such a peace in nature, especially in Sundays when you took a walk, as an expression, maybe, of a new time which will come. And maybe somehow this virus has contributed also in change of thinking and consciousness in humanity. May it be like this. So take care, all the best to you, and have a good time. See you next time for the next seminar, which will be in some weeks, I think.